Hey guys, welcome back. This is Joel from Reboot Studios, and today I'm back with part 3 of our survival game series. So, I've been working a little bit on the level since the last part. Now, I've just added some trees using the paint trees setting on the terrain, and I've also just added some hills and added some cliff texturing and things like that. So now that the terrain is mostly finalized, we can get to making a character that we can start walking around our island, and then we can really kickstart this tutorial. So let's get straight to it. So if you remember, when we started our project in the first part, we downloaded some standard assets. So if we just go into standard assets here and go to characters and our first person character that we downloaded, and then go to prefabs, we have two options here. So we have an FPS controller and we have a rigid body FPS controller. So basically the difference between these is an FPS controller uses a character controller component to move around, whereas the rigid body FPS controller uses a rigid body, which is basically a force object that's going to use forces to move around. So we're just going to use the rigid body, and the reason why we're going to do that is if we ever want to add a force to our player, it's going to be much easier to do it with this one than with this one. Now this one might feel a little bit clunkier and a little bit harder to move the character, but I think it's going to be worth it in the long run. If we ever want to add some forces, it's going to be a lot easier. So we're just going to drag this, and yeah, we're just going to drag this into our level here. And you can see, if we go to it, it's just a capsule collider, like that, which basically means we can't run into it because it's a collider. So if you go, you can add it over here, you got all your different colliders. You got your box collider, capsule collider. This one has a capsule collider on it, which is those green outlines. Now this will make it so it doesn't fall through the ground, it doesn't fall, if it runs into something, it won't just go straight through it. So we're just going to move this, so let's just move it to wherever we want it. So we'll just put it up here, and I'll just say game object and move to view, and then it'll go like right here. Now we don't really want to be using it out of this standard assets folder, so we're just going to create our own folder in our assets. We're just going to call it prefabs. Now this is our prefabs, our things that we're going to spawn into our world. So we're just going to drag this into our prefabs and just say original prefab like that, and now we have easy access to it here. We're definitely going to edit this later on to add different things to our character. So now whenever we want, we can just drag this in, and we're just going to save it with 000 on everything, just to have it perfect. And then we have this one here, which we can just move to view. So let's just move it to view like that. And now if we click this play button and we launch our game here, it might be a little bit laggy on the video. You can see that we can walk around with WASD and look around with the mouse, and it's all set up by Unity. We don't have to do a single bit of coding to make this work. Now you'll notice it's giving us an error in our console here, or a warning. It's saying that there's 2 audio listeners in the scene, and there is. It's because this main camera that we had before is enabled still, so we can actually just get rid of it, and that will half your frames per second because it's actually rendering this camera on top of the other camera on this game view. So it's actually going to drastically increase our performance now that we've gotten rid of that. So a lot higher frames per second. Now it's shift to run. It's just the normal controls on a PC game. And these are also set up with cross-platform input, so you can run this back on a Xbox or anything like that, and it should work. So now that we're done with adding our character here, we can just get rid of it, and obviously it's going to say there's no cameras rendering, which is true. There's no cameras in our scene, but every time we drag this in, it'll be back, so we don't have to worry about that. And now we're just going to create a health bar for our FPS controller. So how we're going to do that is we're going to utilize Unity's UI system. So we're just going to go to game object, and we're going to go to UI and just go to canvas, Now this will create a canvas with a screen space overlay, and what that means is when we have a camera in, this canvas that you can see, this big rectangle in our scene view, will display on our screen like a heads-up display, a HUD, like a health bar and maybe like your ammo and things like that you'd normally have in a game. So in our canvas, we're just going to chuck in a UI, and we're just going to chuck in a raw image. Now this is it starts as a white square that we can just move around our canvas like this. And as you can see, if I put it in the top left corner over here, it's going to be in the top left corner in our game view. So we're just going to, we got this raw image here. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to call this our border. And the reason we're doing this is we're going to have a border to our health bar. Now we're going to create a health bar that works as a slider. So as your health goes down, you'll decrease the value of the slider, and the health will go down on the screen. Now we're going to have to do a little bit of coding to make this work, but it's not too hard, and you should be able to follow along pretty easily. So okay, so let's do this. So we want to change this right here, and I've added a texture here, HUD border. So I've just created this in Paint. It's so easy. You just add a little border and make the inside transparent. It's not that hard to do. And we can just drag this in as a texture, and you'll see it'll come up like this. Now it doesn't look that good right now, but we'll fix it up. So let's just go into this thing here, which is like the 2D editor, and you can see that we can move this around. So we want to make it very thin because we don't want it to take up too much of our screen. Just like that maybe. Then we'll move it up into the corner. Now it's not going to look perfect, and it's not meant to look that good. It's just a beginner tutorial. But obviously it's very easy to refine a lot of the things that I'm doing in these tutorials. Like you just make this HUD border look a lot better, and it'll fix everything. So I think that'll do. So we're just going to leave that border like that, and then in our canvas we're just going to create an empty object. So we're just going to right click and say create empty. We're just going to name this health, and then this will just be in our canvas, and we'll put the border under that. So then our health it's all contained, so the border is in there, and then we're going to add another raw image to that, and we're just going to call this the fill, which is basically our red thing. We'll put it as a color here. That's going to represent our health, so it's going to go down like that. So then we're just going to put this, so we'll actually change the position of our health. So we're actually going to take these out. Give me a second, sorry. We're going to take these out, and we're going to make our health empty object the same size as our border, like that. Now we're just going to add our border into that, and then we'll just add our fill as well, and then we'll make our fill the same size as well. And then we're going to just go to our anchors here, and we're going to hold Alt. Make sure you hold Alt, and then click the stretch setting. And then for border, we're going to also hit that stretch setting, and then leave health like that. Or you can probably attach health to here. Okay, so now we can add on our health. We want to add a slider here. So we're just going to add a slider, and we're going to put our fill as our fill rect like that. And you can see that when we change this value in the slider, it fills up our bar depending on how much the value is. So we want this border actually to be above the fill, and the way we do that is we just change it like that. We just move them both around. And now we want to change this fill a little bit because you can see this sort of coming out, so we just want to just change it like that. Okay, so now that that's fixed, you can see we have a working health bar. Now obviously we're going to have to code it, which we are going to do next episode, but we also, instead of a health bar as well, we also want a couple more. So we can control D here to duplicate. We want a water, because this is a survival game, so we're going to want a bit of everything. So we're going to want a water, we're going to want a food, and I think that'll do for now. We might create a stamina but that'll do for now, I think. So we'll just put the water here and the food there. And obviously we want to change their color so you know which one's which. So water, we're just going to change the fill color to blue. Just make it this one, or maybe a bit lighter. We'll make it yeah, like that. And then our food, we might make it like maybe like an orange, like that. And you can sort of tell which one it is. You can tell that's health, water, and food. So we're just going to leave them like that for now. And then next episode, we are going to program each one of these to go down. Maybe when you take damage, it's that the health is going to decrease, and it'll make sure it looks like it's decreasing. And yeah. So I know this was a little bit of a short episode, but we're just getting the basics down of the heads-up display, and then next episode we'll code it all. So thanks for watching. The next episode will be out very soon. And it's been Joel from Reboot Studios, and see you later.